Hey there, welcome back to the channel. My name is Ian McNaughton, and this is our 2021 F1 season in review series for Alpha Tauri. In case you missed it, yesterday I discussed Aston Martin. Last week I chatted about Williams Racing, Alfa Romeo, and Haas. So if you haven't seen those videos yet, please go do so. Today we're going to be talking about Scuderia Alpha Tauri because that's their official name for some reason. I don't know why, but it's Scuderia Alpha Tauri. This season, Alpha Tauri finished 6th in the Constructors' Championship with 142 points. That's an improvement from 107 points and 7th in the Constructors' Championship in 2020. Pierre Gasly had a new career high in points with 110, good for 9th in the World Drivers' Championship. Yuki Tsunoda finished with 32 points, 14th in the World Drivers' Championship, 2 behind Lance Stroll. It was kind of interesting with Yuki. This was his first year in Formula One, and he still finished 2 points behind Stroll, who's been in Formula One for 5 years now. I don't know about the car, what you think about the car. Alpha Tauri had a better car than Aston Martin. A lot of people would say so. I'd probably say so. So it's kind of interesting to see who and what, were impacted by what this season, and including Yuki, who I'll talk about later on, being one of the biggest risers in racing this year. Best moments for Alpha Tauri in 2021. Azerbaijan was a great weekend for them. Pierre Gasly finished 3rd. That was his 3rd career podium. Yuki Tsunoda finished 7th. And it was one of 3 double points finishes for Alpha Tauri this season. In Abu Dhabi, Yuki started 8th, but he finished 4th. It's something that's not getting a lot of conversation for obvious reasons, mostly because of Max and Lewis and their controversial finish. Carlos Sainz got 3rd place in Abu Dhabi, but Yuki got 4th, and right behind him was Pierre Gasly, who started 12th, wound up finishing 5th in the race. It's the first time both Alpha Tauri drivers finished in the top 5, and that includes going all the way back to when they were Toro Rosso in the 15 years that this team has existed. Abu Dhabi was the first time that both drivers finished in the top 5. So it was a great end of the year race for Alpha Tauri that hopefully that momentum will carry over into the offseason and into the start of the 2022 season. At Hungary, Gasly finished 5th and took home the fastest lap. Yuki started 16th, but would wind up finishing 6th, obviously with some help from others, including the first lap incidents. First fastest lap in team history was won by Gasly. So there was a lot of firsts for Alpha Tauri this season. Like I mentioned, the first time that both drivers finished in the top 5 in a Formula One race, with Yuki getting 4th, Gasly for getting 5th in Abu Dhabi, and then Gasly taking home fastest lap in Hungary. Worst moments for Alpha Tauri in the 2021 season. Yeah, Italy was probably the worst weekend for them this year. Sprint qualifying was a disaster, with Gasly crashing at the Curva Grande, Tsunoda losing his front wing in a bump with Robert Kubica, and Yuki did not start the GP on Sunday due to issues with his brakes. Gasly retired with suspension trouble after 3 laps. Never really got up to speed at all. It was a real panicky kind of rush job, considering both drivers had incidences on the Saturday, trying to get them ready for the Sunday, and they just couldn't happen. They just couldn't get it done. Again, Yuki did not start. Gasly just never really got up to speed, never really was competitive in the race, was falling behind quite early, so they just decided to pull the plug. Makes sense. Take your losses, go back again for another weekend. Russia, that was also a disappointing race weekend. Underwhelming qualifying as neither driver got into Q3. Tsunoda finished 17th after starting 12th. He had some early incidences that cost him positions, and then Gasly finished 13th after starting 11th. He had an incident with Lance Stroll. Stroll getting a 10-second penalty for causing the incident still impacted Gasly's performance. He never got up into the points position at all. Disappointing to say the least for Alpha Tauri in Russia. And then finally, there was the Qatar race weekend. It was the 3rd race outside of the other 2 that I mentioned earlier. The final race that Alpha Tauri didn't secure a point this season. Gasly started 2nd after grid penalties were assessed to Max Verstappen and Valtteri Bottas. Yuki started 8th on the race, but Gasly finished 11th. He had car troubles, and just stops that caught him in traffic. It's why he dropped so far. He didn't have a horrible start. There were just other cars that were faster, that were better. Obviously, Max Verstappen, we'll talk about that with Red Bull season in review. He had a great start in Qatar. That got him up to speed quite quickly. And then Fernando Alonso got ahead as well. As a result, Gasly slipped down the order. Yuki slipped down the order as well. He finished 13th. He had similar issues with Gasly, car troubles, and just getting caught up in traffic. So, the highs were the highs and the lows were the lows for Alpha Tauri this season. You could tell there were some bright moments, but at the same time, some disappointing race weekends. I gave their season out of 5 stars. I gave them 3 stars, considering they had quite a few promising moments this year. And, I don't know if they were quite at the Alpine. I mean, they were competing with Alpine, but I would have liked to see them get ahead of Alpine just to carry that momentum into next season. Now Alpine has quite a bit of momentum heading into 2022, but they still weren't as bad as, say, Williams or Alfa Romeo, and certainly not as bad as Haas. So 3 stars seems quite equal to what I think the expectations were for them this year and what they actually produced. I think 3 stars is a fair assessment of their season. Storylines heading into the 2022 season. Can Alpha Tauri become a top 5 constructor? I just mentioned a second ago how I thought Alpine had the momentum that Alpha Tauri needed for 2022. Now that's with Alpine, but Alpha Tauri, I think there's a lot to like about them. They're a young team with diversity throughout the organization. They're easy to root for, especially for a younger person like myself. They have young drivers racing for them. And if they can get some, moderate improvement, I think, from Gasly and Tsunoda, they will finish as a top 5 constructor next season, but they just need to get that little bit more out of them, like another 75% out of them next year. That could be all the difference to being a top 5 constructor and not being a top 5 constructor. Another storyline I have is, will Tsunoda stop crashing in 2022? He got an extension in September, I believe. Or was it? I think it was after the Italian Grand Prix. I think it might have been after the Italian Grand Prix, but he said he was, Yuki was surprised to get an extension considering he was crashing so much. Well, they obviously believe him, and they obviously believe that he can be a great driver. Otherwise, they wouldn't have given him an extension. It was a decent rookie season for him. For somebody who, like I said earlier, he's been a fast riser. He was in Formula 3 in 2019. He was in Formula 2 in 2020. Finishing 3rd in the Drivers' Championship in Formula 2. And then this year he's in Formula 1. So he's obviously been moving up the ladder quite quickly. He's had 3 different teams at 3 different years. This season he had 3 retirements. 1 did not start. That was Monza, of course. And he had several rough stretches. I have 3 rough stretches for him that just can't happen in 2022. And these are stretches with retirement or no points. So that's early in the year when they went to Imola, Portugal, Spain, and Monaco. Those 4 races, he did not get a point or he retired. Belgium, the Netherlands, Italy, Russia, and Turkey. That's 5 races in a row that he either got no points or he retired or he did not start. And then finally, at the end of the year, Mexico, Sao Paulo, Qatar, Saudi Arabia. That's another 4 races where he doesn't get any points and he's retired or he retires. So overall, that's 4, 8, 5. That's 13 races out of 24. I think there was a season, 22, 23. Like, that's over half the races this year. Pretty close to 50% of the races, I will say, give or take 50% of the races. He's not getting points, and that's just unacceptable. You just can't have that, especially if you're trying to be a top 5 constructor like Alpha Tauri is. You can't have a driver not getting points in 50% of his races. Just unacceptable. So we'll see if he stops crashing, if he can improve with the new car as well in 2022. These are one of the teams that I'm not too concerned about with the actual car when it comes to Alpha Tauri. It's more about the powertrain. It's more about with Honda leaving, how is Alpha Tauri going to react to the new powertrain with Red Bull? How is that going to work? That's what I'm more interested with this team. And then finally, the last thing I have is a storyline. Is Pierre Gasly vying for the Red Bull seat for 2023? It has to be on his mind. He has that chip on his shoulder. He had another good season with Alpha Tauri. He seems to have really meshed well since moving back from Red Bull to Alpha Tauri. And, again, like I mentioned, I'm not really worried about Pierre or Yuki with the new cars. It's more the powertrains and how, they're going to get used to that. That's more what I'm concerned about. And, what will it take for Pierre to get a Red Bull seat in 2023? Obviously, Sergio Perez is going to be racing with Red Bull again in 2022. Sergio had a pretty good year, I thought. I thought he earned the right to have another year with Red Bull. But I don't know what Pierre Gasly is going to have to do to beat Sergio. Like, Sergio is really going to either have to regress, and Pierre maybe has to be a top 5 world championship driver. I don't know if he has that in him. Maybe 4th or better. But that's if Gasly's getting more points than Sergio Perez is, Red Bull might go back to Pierre Gasly in 2023. So you have to think, especially during the first half of this season in 2022, Pierre is going to be trying to get that Red Bull seat. He's thinking about that. He's obviously thinking about doing well with Alpha Tauri, but at the same time, he's thinking about that Red Bull seat. He wants to be with Red Bull. He's going to want to be at that top spot, you would think. So keep that in mind as we head into the 2022 season. So this is my 2021 F1 season in review for Alpha Tauri. Thank you very much for watching. It's greatly appreciated. Again, like I mentioned, if you haven't seen the other videos from the series, I highly recommend you do so. We'll have some more videos coming out this week, as well as some more podcasts. So stay tuned for that. Again, thank you very much for watching. We'll be back again soon. Peace out.